I'm going to specifically use you. The command is clear. No excuses will be taken. I quoted John Eldridge recently where he says, on this journey that we're on, that Moses was certainly on, he says, for some, the journey requires a change in geography, but for every soul, it requires a change in the heart. Now, Moses was going to have a change in geography, but first God had to deal with his heart, and that's what he's doing here. Well, there are two sides of this passage, and one is kind of understanding the heart of God. The second side that I want to look at with you just for a moment is understanding the heart of Moses. And there are just two phrases I want to focus on as we think about Moses' perspective. And here they are. He says, here I am, and then he says, who am I? Now think about that first phrase for a minute. When Moses says, here I am, is this a statement of geography or availability? Is he saying, God, here I am, I'm in this place? Or is he saying, here I am, well, kind of like Abraham did. If you think back to Abraham's story, there were a couple times when God called him, and immediately Abraham just said, here I am. God called Abraham now to sacrifice his son Isaac, the conduit through which the promise was going to flow. And now the whole thing is being put up for grabs when God says, well, I want you to take your only son Isaac, whom you love, and take him to a mountain and sacrifice him. Abraham, when God calls him, says, here I am. And he immediately obeys and goes. And then when he's about to sacrifice his son Isaac, he's got him bound up, he's laying across the altar, he's got his hand lifted with a knife, and at that point, again, God calls out Abraham, and Abraham again says, here I am. And for Abraham, it was a statement of availability. Now for Moses, I think it's a little bit different. For him, it's more like vocation. He said, here I am, God, I'm in Midian, for crying out loud. I had to flee Egypt because of all that stuff that happened. I was an orphan kid anyway. I didn't grow up normally. You know, who would blame me for being the way that I am? I'm a stranger, I'm a foreigner, I'm an alien in this distant land, and I'm far from your people. I'm isolated. The priest of Midian is my father-in-law. Who's going to happen here? What's going to go on? God, are you truly going to work here? And God says, absolutely. He says, well, I'm kind of here. I'm kind of in the wrong place. But it's exactly in that place where God says, now I'm going to work. And you're part of it. I like the song, Who Am I? It's a song by Casting Crowns. I'm a flower quickly fading, here today, gone tomorrow. And that's an understanding of who we are. Now again, that's a great perspective. I don't think Moses' perspective was exactly that when he asked the question, who am I? If you keep reading that, he's saying, I'm the wrong guy, God. Who am I to do this? I'm not a leader, I can't speak well. Send somebody else. Well, we could go on with this. We could point out some more Moses' flaws. The story continues, and this argument goes back and forth. I mean, Moses doesn't want to go. God doesn't want to let him off the hook, and he keeps going back and forth. But let's just kind of leave Moses for a minute. Let's just kind of put you guys on the hook for a minute. What if this week you focus on just those two phrases? And I've already been trying this. It's kind of hard. But what if this week you focus on those two phrases? Here I am, and who am I? And every time you felt God nudge you this week, and I talked about that recently, you know those nudges where you just feel like God is telling you to do something? And maybe it's just this little inner leaning because of something that you read in the scriptures, or just maybe it's a pang of conscience. Maybe it's just something that says you just need to pick up the phone. You just need to say you're sorry to somebody. You just need to make something right with somebody. You need to contact somebody that you've been on odds with. Maybe you need to just walk across the street to make the first move, or go across the city. For some of us, it's this nudge to go across the country, around the world. Different ones of us at different times have just this clear lead that says, there's nothing that explains this other than God is really driving me this way. It's confirmed by the people. It's confirmed by what I see in the Bible. I can't escape that. And my challenge for you this week is, what if every time you just felt that little nudge this week, just for 1 week try, to just practice saying yes? I went through kind of a round of conversations today and yesterday because of that very thing. And I didn't want to have to deal with this person, and I could fully explain why they were in the wrong and dismiss them and say, I hope they're happy for the rest of their life. But because of this challenge, I made contact and I reached out and I said I was sorry for the part that I had to own in that. And it's still unfolded, but I think it's turning out pretty cool. But what if we every time felt that nudge and we said, God, here I am? And we just responded. And then the second one, what if we truly practice that question, who am I? To understand I'm just one piece of this. God's plan is going on much beyond me. I am a flower quickly fading. I got this short breath of life, and I want to do something significant through it. God, use me somehow. Work your salvation somehow using me at this time in this place. I would pray that your life this week just might be an experiment in that. See, God has a heart for people. And God knows nations, as you see here tonight. In the Bible, God calls out nations by name. Not just Israel, but he'll call out Babylon, he'll call out Aram, he'll call out Moab. He calls out all these different nations, and I think he knows our country too. And I think he loves the people of our country and wants to work through us. You're going to meet a guy tonight named Jim. And Jim's staying in the back. I'm going to give him just a minute to get up here to the front. But each week during this series, we want you to just kind of see what it looks like to say yes to God in each of these specific areas. And Jim, a couple years ago, said yes to God. He really felt God leading him to get involved in this state of Alaska through a mission that we were doing through St. John. And as Jim comes up, there's a little video piece that will just give a little background as far as where Jim went. And you'll be able to see that background. We're just going to review it.
It's big. It's beautiful. It's cold in the winters and cool in the summers. It's Alaska. For years, St. John has been sending mission teams to various locations in Alaska, including Canicross, Chittenden, Wrangell, and Huaslia. Canicross is located 12 miles northwest of Toke and is connected to the Alaska Highway by 1.5 miles of unpaved access road. The village lies on the south bank of the Tana River. This will be St. John's 6th year to venture to this far northern village to share the good news of Jesus Christ by providing a vacation Bible school for the children of the village. In doing so, we pray for opportunities to build relationships within this small community. Each year, we have seen consistent growth of relationships in the village and with the children through VBS. It is a wonderful opportunity to demonstrate the love of God.